everybody's cheering at one time. That's never happened before. Usually if you have one cheering, the other isn't. The other is the opposite. This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved. And we're going to have an amazing time, and it's going to be something that's never happened before.
Never happened before. President Trump on his way to the Middle East right now, taking off from Joint Base Andrews outside D.C. just moments ago. Israel watching for the remaining Hamas hostages being held by Hamas to return home. The ceasefire holding for a third day. Palestinians now making the journey home inside the war-torn Gaza Strip. And as day 12 of the federal government shutdown, Congress remains deadlocked on a funding plan as the stalemate nears the 2-week mark. The Trump administration now looking for ways to pay troops despite the gridlock in Congress. NewsNation is covering it all. Robert Sherman is live on the ground in Tel Aviv, while Tom Dempsey is in our nation's capital as we continue to monitor developments overseas. Meanwhile, NewsNation's Mills Hayes is outside Chicago, where protesters are gathering at an ICE facility. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for NewsNation Now. I'm Nick Smith. We begin in the Middle East, where the first phase of the Gaza peace plan is starting to take shape. President Trump with a jam-packed agenda once he lands in Israel, meeting with Israel's prime minister and the country's legislative body, and then traveling to Egypt, joining other world leaders for a peace ceremony. Mr. Trump also expected to meet with the families of the hostages set to be released. Israel finalizing details on preparations to welcome them home. Their release after 2 years in captivity could come at any moment. Let's begin with NewsNation's Robert Sherman live on the ground in Tel Aviv. Robert, good evening. The mood has to be jubilant, but what are people saying right now about the deal?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say here, Nick, is that there's always a distinction with the emotions in moments such as this. On the one hand, there is this nervousness here because we have seen so many of these deals fizzle in the 11th hour many times in the past. But on the other hand, people are more optimistic than they've ever been, more ready than they've ever been. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying tonight that all the conversations have taken place between Jerusalem, the medical staffers on the ground level. Logistically, they're ready to go. For the people on the ground here in Israel, they've been ready to go for more than 2 years to welcome back the remaining hostages who are still in Gaza, 48 of them. That's how many they're preparing to welcome back here to Israel in the coming hours here. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing the public tonight saying, whatever happens over the next couple of hours, he emphasizes that the work here is not done.
There are still very big security challenges ahead of us. Some of our enemies are trying to regroup in order to attack us again. And as we say here, we're on it. There are also great opportunities that we never knew existed, precisely because of the victories we brought. I am convinced that with joint forces, we will overcome the challenges and realize the opportunities.
There are many more conversations to be had in the next few days, largely relating to Hamas, their role after the war is over, governance in Gaza, demilitarization of Hamas, their status as a whole. And it's even widely admitted by mediators that they don't have the answers to all of those questions yet. In terms of how we're expecting this evening to go, hostages are expected to be released in the morning hours here in Israel. The Hostage and Missing Families Forum anticipates a delay, unspecified amount of time. It's a very fluid environment, but still there are no anticipated changes to the release taking place in the morning hours here, which would be just a few hours from now. Nick?
Robert, one more piece to that puzzle would be the people of Gaza, the Palestinians who are trying to make that trek. What's next for them?
I mean, what we have seen, Nick, is that ever since this ceasefire deal has come down, the roadways north back to the Gaza City area of the enclave have reopened. People have taken advantage of that opportunity to try and return to their homes, some of them getting back to Gaza City today. Their first time in months on end, seeing their city, seeing what's left of their homes, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to push forward. There's also the humanitarian aid aspect to all of this, with international groups such as the UN saying that they're at the ready in order to start moving as much humanitarian aid into Gaza as possible. Our NewsNation team was embedded in Gaza this week, looking at some of the aid operations from other groups here firsthand, having the opportunity to meet with Gazans who told us that they're tired, they're hungry, and most of all, they're fed up with the war, which they put the blame on Hamas for starting.
Hamas is a bunch of criminals. They don't think of our people's needs for 17 years.
I'm lose my dreams to Hamas.
One corollary that we found, whether you're in Israel, whether you're in Gaza itself, people are hoping that any peace that comes out of this is lasting. Nick?
Robert Sherman live for us this evening in Tel Aviv. Robert, thank you so much. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey is live at the White House, where President Trump departed not too long ago. Tom, good evening. What are you hearing about the president's agenda overseas?
Hey, Nick, good evening. Well, literally as we speak right now, President Donald Trump aboard Air Force One on his way to Israel for this historic trip to highlight this ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Before boarding Air Force One, though, President Trump had this to say, describing this trip and this ceasefire deal as a special time for the Middle East. Take a listen.
This is a very special event. They had 500,000 people yesterday and today in Israel, and also the Muslim and Arab countries are all cheering. Everybody's cheering at one time. That's never happened before. Usually if you have one cheering, the other isn't. The other is the opposite. This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved.
And Nick, getting back to your original question as far as what's on the agenda here, well, President Trump will arrive in Tel Aviv, Israel on Monday morning, where he will meet with family members of the hostages and address the Knesset, Israel's parliament. And later on Monday, President Trump will actually head to Egypt as well to take part in a summit with around 24 other countries focused on peace in Gaza and the Middle East. But of course, this all comes days after the president announced this ceasefire deal. And since then, Israel has finished partially pulling back its forces from Gaza's main cities. The stop in fighting has also led to more badly needed aid supplies arriving. This ceasefire now sits in the early stages of what's known as Phase 1, which calls for the release of the final 48 Israeli hostages still in Hamas custody, 20 of them still believed to be alive. Israel will release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in return as well. Gaza will see a surge in humanitarian aid tied to this Phase 1, Nick, probably the biggest part of all this, at least something that President Trump has spoken about many times over the past several months, is getting those Israeli hostages back home safely. And Vice President J.D. Vance saying earlier this morning that could literally, that release could come at any minute today. Nick?
And Tom, what are you hearing about the role of U.S. troops in this plan?
Yeah, so that's a big question. You know, the involvement of the United States troops in all this. The troops will be in the Middle East to help sort of coordinate this humanitarian aid that's so badly needed. But Vice President J.D. Vance saying earlier this morning that as far as boots on the ground in Israel and Gaza, that will not be happening.
We already have people in that region of the world. They're going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire. They're going to monitor, ensure the humanitarian aid is flowing. The second term is for the hostages to be released. So we have people in that region of the world who are going to monitor parts of this peace proposal, but the president is not planning to put boots on the ground in Israel.
According to a senior source, again, around 200 United States forces will help be part of this humanitarian aid effort for the people of Gaza. And they're going to be part of a team made up of other countries. That war, Nick, obviously in Gaza has left Gaza in rubble, and it's going to take years to rebuild as people there now deal with issues like famine. In fact, according to the UN World Food Program, Nick, around 44% of the population currently in Gaza is dealing with poor access to food, a very serious need for more aid, and more of that aid coming into Gaza after this ceasefire now. Nick?
Tom Dempsey with the very latest from the White House. Tom, thank you so much. NewsNation will have live special coverage early tomorrow morning of President Trump's historic trip to the Middle East. That starts at 2 a.m. Eastern, 1 Central, right here on NewsNation. The men and women of the United States military will get paid despite the government shutdown entering its 12th day. NewsNation's Marcus Espinosa has the latest on where the money is coming from and when troops will see their checks.
The deadline for the upcoming paycheck for service members was scheduled for Wednesday, October 15th. President Trump has promised troops they won't miss a paycheck. And yesterday, he directed War Secretary Pete Hegseth to move forward with paying the roughly 1.3 million active duty service members and tens of thousands of National Guard and Coast Guard personnel. How is this going to happen? A spokesperson for the Office of Budget and Management confirmed to NewsNation portions of research and development money at the War Department will be used to pay service members. These funds are available for 2 years. That's about $8 billion of unobligated funds from the prior fiscal year, according to a Defense Department official. That official said they would provide more information as it becomes available. This comes after House Speaker Mike Johnson blamed Democrats for the lapse in pay. However, Democrats and Republicans have been pressuring Speaker Johnson to bring lawmakers back to Washington to vote on a bill that would ensure military workers are paid despite the shutdown. Johnson said on Wednesday he would not bring the House back to vote on paying troops. Congress has funded the military in the past during a shutdown. During the 2013 government shutdown, Congress passed the Pay Our Military Act that provided pay for service members. The Defense Department also remained funded throughout the 35-day stalemate during the 2018 to 2019 shutdown. A resolution for funding would have to happen by Monday for military personnel to continue to get paid. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. President Trump weighing in again today on the tariff troubles between the United States and China. China calling a recent trip threat to issue a 100% tariff on Chinese goods, quote, a typical example of U.S. double standards. Mr. Trump made that threat just days ago after China issued new controls on its exports, including the country's rare earth minerals. A Chinese Commerce Department spokesperson says this new escalation could lead to even more countermeasures from China, and they're, quote, not afraid of a trade war. Today, Mr. Trump responding to China yet again, saying, don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. A nameless nor'easter storm is wreaking havoc along the East Coast. In the pictures you see right there, take a look at your screen. Flooding hitting Charleston, North Carolina, with seawater and high winds. This storm already prompting New Jersey's acting governor to declare a state of emergency. They're expecting winds to 50 to 70 miles per hour and a potential flood threat of 3 to 6 inches of rain. The National Weather Service has also placed New York City, Long Island, and other areas along the East Coast under warnings for wind and flooding. Flight delays and cancellations stretching from Boston to New York City and D.C. 2 people initially thought to have been dead have been found alive after a deadly explosion at a munitions plant in Tennessee. Take a look at your screen there. You can see that fire and smoke. Definitely a devastating scene. Authorities now confirming 16 people died in that blast Friday. This comes after an initial report that 18 people were killed and that there were no survivors. However, 2 people originally believed to be inside that plant at some time of the day had actually left. They've been located safe and away from the blast site. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. NewsNation is live in Broadview, Illinois, as protests again against ICE and immigration crackdowns continue. Mills Hayes is on the ground. We'll speak to her live next.